I've been covering the Springfield City Council for, I want to say like 15 years or so, just before my next guest came on to the City Council, raising a whole host of issues. And since he served 3 terms, he is term limited out. That is Springfield Alderman from Ward 7, Joe McMenamin. Alderman, thanks for taking time with us today. Let's get right into it with the limited time we've got. What do you see as the major challenges for the next 4 years for the Springfield City Council?
Yeah, good question. Well, the good news is that I think our city government is roughly in the best shape it's been in 40 years. Mayor Langfelder is leaving it in very healthy condition. You know, we've got the highest corporate fund balance in our city's history. That's, our reserve account, over $70 million as of the close of fiscal year in February. We've now got an environmental rehabilitation fund, remediation fund at the utility, which we did not have 8 years ago. There's $20 million there. No electric rate increases in 8 years. Well-managed utility. Our streets are much better than they have been. 3 years in a row, we've contributed to our police and fire pension funds in excess of what the actuaries calculated the correct amount to be. We went through COVID, survived the state budget crunch when we had no state budget. So I think, as you know, Greg, I supported a third term for Mayor Langfelder. I think he deserved it. So our current condition is very positive, in my opinion, in many ways not mentioned, including 3rd Street corridor and the 11th Street tracks and so forth. But so we've got a new mayor coming in, and I wish her the best, Misty Buscher. She's going from managing 12 individuals in the budget, where you sign checks and deposit money, to managing a very complex government organization and the utility. Over 1,300 employees, so 12 employees to 1,300 employees. And with our form of government, it's not, you don't just elect the mayor, you elect a whole new top layer of officials. Unlike Decatur or Peoria, which has a city manager form of government, we've got a strong mayor form of government. So the city attorney changes, the budget director changes, all the top managers changes. We may have a Todd Renfro over running the utility. Currently, we've got the chief city engineer wears 2 hats. The chief at the utility, Doug Brown, is both the chief utility engineer plus the general manager. Those are 2 different positions. They've been combined since Mayor Houston made that change, but they can be separated again. So we'll see who manages the utility. I'm very concerned going forward. I'll just say that. I think I'm very concerned about a city council dominated by Ralph Hanauer and Chuck Redpath. We just approved last week, Greg, $45 million of subsidy to the sports complex. And what does Ralph Hanauer say when I say we don't have fiscal notes, which is required by our city rules? He says, well, we don't really need them. I don't care about that. And then he makes a false statement that we didn't have fiscal notes regarding the proposed Wyndham redevelopment agreement, which didn't go through the council. It's going to wait for the next mayor to step in. So I'm very pleased with the way Mayor Langfelder, I don't agree with him on everything. Like I disagreed regarding the Lake 2, the second lake. And that's one of the good things, I think, with city-elect, Mayor-elect Buscher coming in. She's kind of sees we got different facts now regarding whether we need a second lake or not. The water needs have shifted quite significantly in the last 40, 50 years. So I agree with Mayor Buscher-elect that way. She's also put a focus on beautification of our city, and I think we certainly need that with our gateways coming into the city. It's been neglected. It's an eyesore. We have visitors coming into the capital city, and that's what they see. They see Cook Street, South Grand, Clear Lake, Peoria Road, and we need to do better. So sorry for the long answer, Greg.
No sweat. And I'm actually going to do something a little different here for people watching online. They're going to continue to hear our conversation, but I am going to go for the broadcast, fire off some commercials so that you and I can continue the conversation here. So it is with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY at 849 from Culver's West on Wabash. So as those commercials go on, we continue our conversation here, Alderman. The past 12 years, you've raised all kinds of issues. Everything from let me make sure that's okay. Everything from the issues dealing with unions and their influence on the city council to the police and fire pension funds. Have you made some headway on some of the major things that, quite frankly, Alderman, when you bring some of this stuff up, it riles people up and it gets them fired up? Have you made some headway in making these issues that much more important?
Absolutely, but I think the election is a rollback, is a serious rollback, meaning that Misty Buscher is the queen of special interests and outside money and outside influence, and I'm very concerned about that. We have Frank Valla, not a resident of Springfield, because of a personal slight he suffered, decides to put, we don't know the final numbers yet, and I hope to come back and I can give you the final numbers, but an outsider putting in maybe $100,000 into the campaign for Misty Buscher. You've got the statewide realtors putting in, it looks like close to $100,000 for Misty Buscher. Those are outside interests. And I think the final numbers will show that Mayor Langfelder got outspent 3-1. And the police and fire unions, big spenders for Misty Buscher. You know what? Half of our police and firefighters live outside the city limits. Those are the two unions that resisted most vigorously to the residency requirement for our city employees. All the other unions eventually went along with that, and our Mayor Langfelder deserves a lot of credit. Jim Zirkle deserves a lot of credit. He has done an outstanding job negotiating the union contracts, the collective bargaining agreements. I don't know where that's going to go with the next mayor. I'm very concerned about that. So to answer your, by the way, I brought this. I don't know if you can see it.
I do remember that.
So,
yeah.
So this is the Brit cartoon.
Chris Britt from the Illinois Times, formerly of the Illinois Times, political cartoonist.
And I
remember that hearing and that meeting in particular because Alderman McMenamin raised the question of political influence from unions onto alder people, and it caused a whole bunch of negative words towards you, Alderman.
Yeah, it was a group tackle inside the city chambers on a council night. So basically, I was talking about the spiking that was taking place, and the police and fire fighters had kind of greased the work, so it was actually unlawful. They were getting these 2-week pay spikes, and then they would retire during their pay spike period, and then get their pension spiked forever after they retired on that 2-week period. But at any rate, it was actually an interview here, I think, either with you, Greg, or Jim Leach. And I kind of spoke tough on the council at the time. I was just in the seat maybe less than a year. I just said I thought the city council was asleep at the wheel and not paying attention to our pension issues, and we're getting ripped off. And then that we needed aldermen that paid attention better, dug into the issues, researched better. And so then there was kind of a group tackle. Mayor Houston at the time kind of let it happen. This is kind of a picture showing that I'm kind of talking about the pay spikes, and everyone else has got hurt feelings because they think maybe I went too far, but it wasn't during the city council meeting that I spoke about the problem. But then I got Tylen led the effort, and then Gail Simpson jumped on, and then several others jumped on.
Those were the days, Alderman. Those were the days.
They were personal attacks, but you guys made it happen here at WMAY. It was Jim Leach and Greg Bishop that.
Well, and that's what's so great about talk radio, especially local talk radio, is we're able to plug in, and even like with the council roundup weekly, we do a review of what happens at the city council meeting, so people who can't make it, they get a general idea of what's going on. We're talking with Springfield Alderman Joe McMenamin here on 92.7 FM, and actually the broadcast is during a commercial break right now. We're doing a little bit off air, but still on the stream, so people who are watching online are able to see this conversation, Alderman. But do you feel that you made headway? Even though you ruffled a lot of feathers along the way, do you feel you made some headway?
Absolutely. I think, for 3 years in a row, like I mentioned before, we've contributed at a better rate to the pensions. We've eliminated most of the pension spiking that was taking place, if not all. We've got that residency requirement. Within Ward 7, huge accomplishments that aren't really always the result of ordinances. We've got the Esquire Theater knocked down. More importantly, we've got Hy-Vee was the result of some ordinances. We've got MacArthur Park Apartments that did not require ordinances. Over 200 units. That area had become a slum. 50% empty rates in the apartments. A lot of crime going on in there, and we got that turned around. I think I haven't been in there lately. I think they got 97% occupancy rates now. Now, currently, apartments on Seven Pines Road. It's every unit there is getting new ACs, new furnaces. Every building's got a new roof. Every window has been replaced. The outside will be done last. The parking lot overlay, and they did drainage improvements. Just fantastic for
Talking
Springfield.
accomplishments, Alderman Joe McMenamin with us, back live on WMAY 92.7 FM. If you missed the conversation back and forth during the commercial break, go check out the live stream. Really delved into, and Alderman McMenamin even brought a relic from the past, the Chris Britt cartoon from, what was that?
2012.
2012.
11 years ago.
That's incredible. But Alderman, we've got about 4 minutes left here before the top of the hour and a hard break. A lot of contention in the past few months of city council happenings. Everything from what's going on with the Wyndham to this Legacy Sports complex. Those types of decisions, they're going to be extremely impactful. How do you feel that the alder people have made those decisions to this point, and how do you see things moving forward?
Well, I don't see the checks and balances on this next council that we need. I think Roy Williams and Sean Gregory had that potential, but now that they've got a mayor that will be maybe less open-minded to their ideas, I think they're going to have to quiet down. I think because they'll kind of go along to get along, so to speak.
Well, you brought a certain dynamic, though, that forced some of these things. You were always, a lot of times, the only person voting no on some ordinances. Do you feel with your absence some of these things might not get addressed?
Absolutely, Greg. We just went through the lowest participation election of the city's history in the average since we changed the form of government. Back when we changed the form of government, we had over 60 candidates running for aldermen and so forth. In some wards, we had 10 candidates running. We needed a primary. This last go-around, we had no primary, 5 uncontested seats, 2 open seats, 2 appointed seats where there's minimal interest, 3 open seats, meaning the existing aldermen are getting out, very low interest. So, and then the outcome is we've basically got an all current government employee city council or former government employee city council. There's no private sector participation to speak of. By that I mean, a banker, an insurance agent.
Well, and how important is that, right? I mean, because the city council, of course, everything they do is taxpayer funded, from contracts that they have to, the developments that they look forward to helping assist. How important is it to have, somebody from the private sector on the horseshoe dealing with these issues?
It's very important. You need that broader background. I think a lot of the patronage workers, government workers, they live kind of within an echo chamber type of life. A lot of them owe their seats, their positions, or their regular full-time job to patronage politics, and you kind of get a narrow point of view, and I think you need a broader point of view. I think I was the only that type of person on the last city council. I'm very concerned, like our mayor, Misty Busher, she's saying that the city council should set the policies. Well, I think we affirm or deny the policies. We are not the executives, and I think she misunderstands the role of the mayor from that point of view. And I think what she's really saying is she's going to look for Redpath and Hanauer and some of the others to get her direction from. And I think we need more checks and balances. I'm very concerned. Like when Hanauer said regarding the $45 million of subsidy to the sports complex, he says, I don't need to see the fiscal analysis. Well, excuse me, Ralph, but that's extraordinarily important for the city's future.
Springfield Alderman Joe McMenamin, just about 1 week left, or you got 2 meetings left. You got 2 meetings?
Yeah, tonight and next week.
All right, so less than a minute here. What's next for you after you leave the city council? What are you doing? Are you running for higher office?
No, absolutely not. you never know who's going to die, what kind of emergencies are going to come about. Like Mike Houston never thought he'd be back on the seat, and I don't expect to either at age 70. And I don't understand our President Biden, but getting back to the point,
30 seconds.
I did talk with Mayor Langfelder in the mayor's office last Friday night. He brought in his family and some special friends and such. And we did talk about the need for accountability and seeing what happens in the next 4 years and holding folks accountable for what happens. So I think I'll be in that type of a role.
Right on. All right, Alderman Joe McMenamin, not the last time we'll talk, guaranteed. Appreciate all that you've done for providing context for things and all the content you provided for the council roundup. So safe journeys, and we'll talk again soon, all right?
Thanks, Greg. Remain an expert like you are on city government.
Appreciate that. It's Springfield's Morning News.
Studios. Take the easy way out.